Vanessa sat up in bed, her heart beating faster than it should have for a quiet morning. The air in her small apartment felt heavy, as if something unseen hovered in the corners. She looked at her phone. 8:17 a.m. No message, no missed call, no "Good morning, baby." It had been 3 days since she'd seen Magaloo in person. Their last night together had ended in awkward silence. He'd seemed distracted, replying to texts with a faint smile, then brushing off her questions with vague answers. Now, nothing. Vanessa stared at her phone again, thumb hovering over his name. She pressed call. It rang. Once, twice, 3 times. No answer. She hung up and tried again. Still nothing. She bit her lower lip, her nerves prickling. It wasn't like him to ignore her. Even during their fights, he never went cold for long. She got out of bed and walked barefoot into the kitchen, grabbed a glass, and drank water to calm herself. But her mind raced. Was he avoiding her? Was he with someone? Was she being paranoid again? Vanessa hated these thoughts. She hated that she had them so often. But with Magaloo, things always felt halfway hidden. His charm was effortless, but so was his secrecy. He never told her much about his female clients. Sometimes he'd whisper into his phone in the middle of the night. Once she had followed him after he told her he was heading to a meeting, only to see him talking to a woman near the parking lot of a hotel. He said it was business. She wanted to trust him, but her mind didn't rest easy. Vanessa walked into the bathroom and stared at her face in the mirror. Her hair was a mess. Her eyes were still swollen from sleep. She didn't care. She changed into jeans, tied up her hair, and grabbed her handbag. Inside, buried under some receipts and old lipstick tubes, was something cold and heavy. A gun. It wasn't hers. It belonged to her late brother. She kept it for protection, or at least that's what she told herself. In truth, it had become a silent companion, a symbol of control in moments when she felt like everything else was slipping away. She slipped it into her bag again, more out of habit than intention. Vanessa locked the door behind her and walked toward her car. She lived 15 minutes from Magaloo's place. Every minute on the road stretched like a warning. Her mind played tricks on her, imagining him with another woman, imagining him gone, imagining him in danger. When she reached his gate, she pressed the buzzer. No answer. The gate was slightly open. Her chest tightened. She pushed it wider and stepped inside. The house was quiet, the yard still. The air felt wrong, too still for morning, too cold for the season. The front door wasn't locked. She called his name. Magaloo? No reply. She stepped into the living room. Silence. She took a deep breath, her heart now pounding in her ears, and turned toward the bedroom hallway. With trembling hands, she opened the door, and there he was. Magaloo was lying on the floor beside his bed, twisted slightly to one side. Blood pooled under his head. His phone was on the floor beside his open hand. His eyes were wide open, lifeless. Vanessa screamed. She stumbled back, covering her mouth. For a moment, she froze. Then she fumbled for her phone and called the police. "There's blood. He's been shot," she cried, barely able to get the words out. "He's not moving. I just found him. My boyfriend. Please." She collapsed to her knees beside the bedroom door, shaking uncontrollably. The first thing she didn't mention to the officers was that she'd already been near the house earlier. The second was that the gun was still in her bag. Detective Martin Chalo had seen death before. He had seen bodies in alleyways, on highways, and once even folded inside a suitcase. But what he found in Magaloo's bedroom felt different. Not because of the blood or the neat placement of the body, but because of the silence. It was too clean, too quiet, too calculated. Magaloo lay beside his king-size bed in a crisp, gray t-shirt and black shorts, his head resting in a dark puddle of blood. There were no signs of a struggle, no overturned furniture, no broken glass, just one bullet to the head, one clean shot. Detective Chalo looked at the woman sitting on the living room couch, wrapped in a blanket handed to her by a responding officer. She was shaking, her eyes red, her fingers tangled together in a silent war of nerves. "You're the one who found him?" Chalo asked. Vanessa nodded. "I'm sorry, but I'll need to ask you a few questions." Her voice cracked. "I understand. When did you arrive?" "About 10 minutes before I called. I don't remember the exact time." "You don't live here?" "Number Y live in Kinondoni. We weren't living together. But I came because he hadn't answered any of my calls today." Chalo scribbled a note in his book. "Did you try calling before you arrived?" "Yes, twice, around 8, then again at 9. "Did he answer?" "No." "Was the door locked when you arrived?" "No, it was slightly open. That's what made me worried." Chalo narrowed his eyes slightly. "Slightly open?" "Yes." "And you didn't hear anything inside?" "Nothing. The house was completely silent." He nodded. "What did you do next?" "I went inside, called his name, then walked to the bedroom. That's where I found him." Vanessa looked down, tears slipping from her eyes. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I knew something was wrong. I just didn't think this." Chalo motioned to one of the forensics officers nearby. "Run a full sweep. Prints, blood spatter analysis, check all cameras, inside and outside." He turned back to Vanessa. "Did Magalou have any enemies? Anyone who might have wanted to hurt him?" She shook her head, but too quickly. "No. Not that I know of. He kept to himself. He ran his business, had a few friends. But enemies? Number." The detective paused, then asked quietly, "Were the two of you having any issues recently?" Vanessa hesitated. "No," she finally said. "Just small arguments, normal things, nothing serious." He didn't press. Not yet. But her timing didn't sit well with him. As she sat trembling, officers began checking the CCTV footage from the house. One camera above the gate, one at the back, and a third inside the hallway, all connected to a cloud-based system. Easy to pull. By afternoon, they had their first list of people who had entered the house that morning. 1. Dada, the cleaner, 8 a.m. 2. Sudi, a close friend, 11 a.m. 3. Plumber, unknown name, 1 p.m. 4. Vanessa, the girlfriend, 3:30 p.m. After Magulu was already dead, Dada was the first to be called back. She arrived at the house late in the afternoon, nervous and fidgety. A short woman in her early 40s wearing a worn scarf and a long skirt. She had cleaned the house for over a year and was trusted with a spare key. "I came as usual," she said quietly. "I got in at 8, cleaned the kitchen, bathroom, sitting room." "Did you enter the bedroom?" Chalo asked. "No." "Why?" "I thought he was sleeping. Sometimes he likes to sleep in late. I didn't want to disturb him." "Did you hear anything unusual? Any voices? Footsteps?" She shook her head. "No, nothing." Chalo studied her. "When you left, was the front door locked?" "I locked it behind me." "Interesting. Vanessa had said it was open." There was already a contradiction. Small, but significant. Later that evening, as they reviewed the footage again, Chalo noticed another detail. The camera at the back door was offline, had been for days, the one angle that could have shown someone sneaking in or out unnoticed. Chalo turned back to his notes. A locked door that was later found open, a faulty back camera, a girlfriend who found the body but had no clear alibi for most of the day, a victim with no obvious enemies. This wasn't a random killing. This wasn't a robbery. This was personal. And someone in that house, sometime that morning, pulled the trigger. Detective Chalo returned to the house the next morning, a thermos of black coffee in one hand and the case folder tucked beneath his arm. The scene had been sealed overnight, and the forensics team had worked late, dusting surfaces, bagging items, lifting fingerprints from doorknobs and tabletops. So far, nothing screamed intruder, but something didn't add up. He stepped into the living room and stood still, listening. The silence inside Magalu's house wasn't just quiet. It was unnatural, like a space waiting for its story to be told, like it had a secret buried behind its walls. Chalo moved toward the hallway, then stopped at the bedroom door. The blood was cleaned, but the outline of tragedy still lingered. He could feel it in the air. He pulled out his notebook and flipped to the names. Dada, the cleaner. Sudi, the friend. The plumber. Unknown name. Vanessa, the girlfriend. 4 people, 4 timelines, all claiming innocence. But someone was lying. He started with Dada. She was called back in that morning for a more formal sit-down at the station. She wore the same long skirt, same scarf, only this time her hands were visibly shaking. She clutched a plastic bag with her ID and a few papers like it was a lifeline. Dada, Chalo began gently. We've gone through the footage. We saw you enter at 8:01 a.m. and leave around 9:20. That correct? She nodded. You said you didn't go into the bedroom because you thought Magaloo was asleep? Another nod. He told me many times not to wake him. Sometimes he didn't want to be disturbed. Was it quiet while you were there? Yes, too quiet. Chalo leaned forward. Did anything feel off? Dada bit her lip, hesitating. Actually, yes. He raised his eyebrows. Usually, the radio is on, or he's on the phone. But that day, nothing, not even a cough. Did you knock on his door? I stood outside it for a moment. I called out, Boss Magaloo, but there was no answer. Chalo scribbled the note. So then you cleaned and left? Yes. Was the front door still locked when you left? She hesitated. I think so. I usually lock it. But that day, she paused. I was in a hurry. I might have just closed it behind me. A crack, uncertainty. It still didn't explain why Vanessa found the door ajar, or why Magaloo hadn't responded to a cleaner who called out his name right outside the bedroom. Unless he was already dead, that meant the killer may have struck before 8 a.m., or while Dada was in the house. But she hadn't heard a gunshot. No scream, nothing. Chalo leaned back. One last question. Do you remember seeing anyone else around the compound when you came in, or when you left? Dada frowned, then shook her head. No one. It was very quiet. Even the neighbors' dogs weren't barking. He let her go. Back at the house, he walked the cleaner's route from memory. The hallway, the kitchen, the bathroom. Then he stood outside the bedroom door. The soundproofing here was thicker than in other parts of the house. The walls insulated the room almost completely. If a gun was fired while Dada was in the kitchen or bathroom, she might not have heard it. He noted the angle of the bed, the position of the body from the photographs. Magaloo was killed with a single shot to the temple. No signs of a struggle. That suggested one of 2 things. He was asleep, or he knew the shooter. That narrowed it. Chalo checked his notes again. Sudi, the friend. He arrived later, around 11:07 a.m., according to the gate camera. His story matched. He knocked, got no answer, found the front door open, looked around, saw no one, and left. Odd, yes, but plausible. Except for one detail. He didn't call the police. If he found his friend's door open and no one around, why didn't he report it? Chalo picked up his phone and dialed. Sudi, he said when the line picked up. We need to talk again, now. Sudi arrived at the station looking more put together than the first time. His shirt was freshly pressed, his cologne faint but deliberate, and he wore a gold chain around his neck, the kind Magaloo used to wear too. Chalo noticed everything. He greeted politely, but there was a tension in his jaw, a stiffness in the way he walked into the interview room. Chalo motioned for him to sit. Thanks for coming, the detective said. No problem. Anything I can do to help? Chalo opened his folder and removed a few printed stills from the surveillance footage. This is you, he said, sliding a photo across the table. Arriving at 11:07 a.m. Is that correct? Sudi glanced at it. Yes, like I told you before, Magaloo had asked me to come discuss some business stuff. But when I got there, he didn't answer. You said the door was open. Yeah? You went inside? Just a few steps. I called out. Nobody answered. I thought maybe he'd stepped out quickly or was taking a shower. I didn't want to snoop. Chalo raised an eyebrow. So you left? Yeah, I figured he'd call me later. Chalo leaned forward, voice calm but sharp. You didn't find it strange? A man who invited you over suddenly disappears, leaves the front door open, doesn't answer, and you just walk away. Sudi paused. Honestly, I did find it weird. But this is Magulu we're talking about. Sometimes he'd do strange things, lock himself up, switch off his phone, disappear for hours. He had mood swings. You knew him, right? Chalo didn't respond. He flipped to another photo. This one. Camera shows you looking around the living room. You stayed inside for almost 3 minutes. I was calling out for him. Chalo looked up. And you didn't see blood in the hallway? Sudi's eyes narrowed. Blood? There was already a trail, faint but visible, from the bedroom to the doorframe. You stepped past it. Want to try again? Sudi hesitated. His confidence cracked, just a little. I didn't notice. Maybe I didn't look down. Chalo let the silence stretch, then said, Let me be clear. You're not under arrest, but we're getting close to the truth, Sudi, and if you're hiding something, it will surface. Sudi leaned back, exhaled hard, then shook his head. I swear I didn't kill him. Magulu was my friend. I wouldn't do that. He was helping me start a business. Business like what? We were planning to open a small Forex trading office. He had the cash, I had the contacts. We were going to launch next month. Chalo scribbled a note. Any arguments between you two recently? Not really, just delays, money issues, but nothing serious. You didn't feel left out, like he was focusing on someone else? Sudi stiffened. What do you mean? Chalo closed the file and looked him dead in the eye. I mean Vanessa. There it was, the flicker. Just a blink, but the detective saw it. You think I was jealous? Sudi scoffed. Magulu was always with women. I wasn't surprised when he settled on Vanessa. She wasn't my type. Chalo made no expression. And were they happy? Sudi shrugged. Happy enough. Though, he did complain once. About what? He said she was too possessive, called too often, got upset when he didn't text back. Stuff like that. Did he mention seeing anyone else? Sudi hesitated. Maybe. A couple of times I heard him on the phone with someone, a woman, not Vanessa. He'd laugh quietly and go outside. Do you know who? No idea. That was new. Chalo filed the detail in his mind. He had a list of names now, a longer story forming beneath the surface. After Sudi left, Chalo returned to the scene one more time before sunset. The light outside was orange, heavy and quiet, the same kind of stillness that surrounded death. Inside Magulu's bedroom, he stood alone. His eyes scanned the wardrobe, the mirror, the photo frames on the wall. He opened drawers, felt under the mattress, tapped on the wooden floorboards. Then he found it, a phone, tucked in a drawer at the bottom of the closet. Not Magulu's usual phone. This one was slim, black, with no SIM card. Burner phone. Chalo powered it up. There were no saved contacts, just 2 recently deleted WhatsApp chats. He used forensic software to recover them, and there it was, unknown contact. When is she not around? I miss your voice. Magulu. Soon. She gets suspicious these days. I think she knows. Chalo stared at the messages. A creeping chill ran up his spine. Vanessa wasn't just the girlfriend, she was the jealous girlfriend, and someone knew she was being lied to. The burner phone cracked the case open wider than Chalo expected. He sat in his office late into the night, lights dimmed, phone screen glowing in his hand. The recovered chats were brief but pointed. Magulu had been hiding something or someone, and someone else knew about it. He jotted down the timestamps. The messages had been exchanged 3 days before Magulu was found dead. That meant whoever he had been texting was likely in town. And possibly still watching. But there was no name, no saved number. just a series of flirtatious messages and short voice notes, none recoverable. Chalo forwarded the number to the cybercrimes unit. They'd try to trace it, but burner phones were designed to vanish. Still, the tone of the chats was clear. An affair. Magalou was cheating, and Vanessa had likely found out. Chalo picked up his own phone and dialed her number. Vanessa answered on the second ring, her voice flat and weary. "Hello." "It's Chalo," he said. "I'd like you to come in tomorrow. I have a few more questions." "I already told you everything," she muttered. "I know, but something new has come up." A pause. "Fine," she said. "I'll come." The next day, police station interview room. Vanessa arrived in black trousers and a white blouse, her hair tied back, eyes swollen but alert. There was no makeup this time, no performance of grief. Chalo noted the change. "Thank you for coming," he said. She sat with her hands folded tightly in her lap. "I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." "I have been." He slid the phone onto the table, the burner phone. She blinked. "Do you recognize this?" "No." "It was found hidden in Magulu's wardrobe." She said nothing. Chalo powered it on and scrolled through the recovered chats. He didn't need to read them aloud. He simply rotated the screen toward her. She stared at it, and something shifted in her face. Not shock, not anger, something else, like a quiet betrayal relived. "How long had you known?" Chalo asked softly. Vanessa looked up slowly, her voice brittle. 2 weeks. "Did you confront him?" Number 1 waited. Waited for what? For him to end it, or come clean, but he didn't. "Did you recognize the woman he was talking to?" She shook her head. He never said her name, just called her babe or mommy or whatever men say when they want to be secretive. Chalo studied her. "So you never found out who she was?" "No." "Did you go through his things?" She looked away. "I checked his phone one night while he was asleep, but the messages were deleted." "Did you think about leaving him?" Another pause, then a cold whisper. "I thought about killing him." Chalo froze. Vanessa smiled sadly, bitterly. "You think I'm the first woman to feel that way after being lied to? I didn't kill him, Detective. I just imagined it." Chalo nodded slowly. "Did you have a gun?" "No." "Have you ever handled one?" She looked him in the eye. "Only once. Years ago. My brother was in the army. He showed me how to hold it. But I haven't touched one since." He believed the part about the brother, but her expression was unreadable. Either she was innocent, or she was far more dangerous than she looked. As Vanessa left the room, Chalo received a ping on his phone, a message from the cyber unit. "We traced the burner number. It was used to make one outgoing call to a registered line. Belongs to a woman named Jamila Mwenda. New name, new lead." Jamila was 26, a receptionist at a private clinic, and as it turned out, Magalou's ex. She was sharp-tongued, direct, and wore her heartbreak like a badge. "Magalou was trash," she said when Chalo asked about the relationship. "He used people, played games, lied every time he opened his mouth." "You were still talking to him, though." "He reached out, told me he missed me, said he was thinking about leaving Vanessa." Chalo leaned forward. "Did you believe him?" Jamila laughed bitterly. "For a minute, but then I remembered who he was." "Did Vanessa know about you?" "I think so. She called me once from a private number, asked if I was talking to her man. I hung up." Chalo's eyes narrowed. "Did she sound angry?" "She sounded calm, too calm, like someone holding back a scream." He made a note. "And did you ever visit Magalou's house?" "No." "Are you sure?" "Yes." Chalo believed her. Jamila seemed too disgusted by Magalou to care where he lived, but the fact that Vanessa had reached out, confronted her, was a thread worth pulling. Back at the office, Chalo sat alone in the dark again, the case finally beginning to settle into shape. Magalou was cheating. Vanessa found out. She confronted the other woman, then waited for a moment she could get close to him, alone and armed. And that morning, she did. The final act wasn't jealousy. It was control. She killed him in the bedroom, wiped her tears, hid the gun, then stepped back into the role of the grieving girlfriend and called the police. But Chalo wasn't ready to make the arrest just yet. He needed the final piece, and he knew exactly where to find it. Detective Chalo leaned against his desk, his eyes scanning the whiteboard in front of him. Photographs, names, timelines, phone records, all mapped out meticulously. At the center of it all was Magulu's face, smiling in the picture, frozen in time. But Chalo wasn't interested in the face anymore. He wanted the weapon, the gun. The shot that had ended Magulu's life was precise. Clean through the temple, no signs of a struggle. A single 9mm round. The lab confirmed it came from a semi-automatic pistol, likely a Glock or something similar, and yet no weapon had been found in the house. If Vanessa had pulled the trigger, where was the gun? Chalo replayed the crime scene footage once more. Security cameras from the outside of the house had captured 4 people entering that morning. The cleaner, the plumber, Suda, and Vanessa. Each had left with nothing suspicious in their hands. But one thing bugged him: Vanessa's handbag. When she arrived that morning, she had a large black tote slung over her shoulder. When she called the police shortly after, she was still holding it. But once the responding officers arrived and began recording statements, the bag was gone. "Where's her bag?" Chalo murmured aloud. He rewound the footage again, slowing it down to quarter speed. There. She walks into the house at 12:11 p.m. She calls the police at 12:27 p.m. At 12:33, the first responding officer enters. But between the call and the officer's arrival, Vanessa walks outside, alone, for less than 1 minute. She comes back, without the bag. Chalo's heart rate ticked up. She had just enough time to stash something. It was raining softly when Chalo returned to the crime scene. The neighbors hardly paid him any attention now. He was becoming a fixture on the street. He entered through the side gate and walked to the small backyard. He studied the ground. Mud, pebbles, a few cigarette butts. Then he noticed a stack of bricks near the edge of the back fence. A few were misaligned, like someone had moved them in a hurry. He put on gloves and started removing them one by one. Then he saw it. Black leather, torn slightly on the side. It was Vanessa's bag. Chalo opened it carefully. Inside, beneath a pile of tissues and an empty perfume bottle, was the weapon, a 9mm Glock 17, cold, silent. He bagged it, called for backup, and stood still under the light drizzle. His mind was already racing ahead. He would run ballistic tests, get fingerprints, though he doubted they'd find many. Vanessa had planned this too well, but the gun was enough. It connected everything. She opened the door slowly, surprised to see Chalo standing there, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. Her eyes darted between them. "What's going on?" "We found the gun," Chalo said simply. The color drained from her face. What gun? I don't understand." "The one used to kill Magalu. You stashed it in the backyard." "I didn't." "You walked out alone, Vanessa. You had 1 minute. We checked the timestamps. The bag, the weapon, the bullet, everything matches." She stepped back, her lips trembling. "I loved him," she whispered. "And that's exactly why you killed him," Chalo said coldly. He nodded to the officers. "Arrest her." As the cuffs clicked into place, Vanessa began to cry. Not loud sobs, just soft whimpers like something had finally cracked inside her. Chalo watched, emotionless. Jealousy, rage, betrayal. It always came down to the same things. In the final report, Chalo noted how calm Vanessa had been throughout the planning, how meticulous she'd become, how love had twisted into obsession, and obsession into murder. The motive was simple, the execution chillingly precise. She had waited, She had watched, and when she couldn't control Magulu's heart, she took his life instead. Case closed. But as Chalo closed the file and locked it in the drawer, he wondered, how many other Vanessas were out there, smiling beside men they secretly hated? Please subscribe, like, share, and comment for more good stories.